Hi, I'm Kesenya and welcome to Guiding Star Astrology. This is my summer series. We're going to be doing a series of short 10-minute or thereabouts videos looking at placements of planets in the 7th house. Now everybody's very intrigued by the 7th house because the 7th house correlates to other people and their role in our lives. It correlates to our marriage partners. It correlates to business partners. And when I say marriage partners, stepping back a little here, it correlates to people we commit to. So there's usually a written agreement or a contractual agreement, such as you buy a house together, you buy a car together, you open a bank account together, or you sign a marriage certificate together. These are the committed contractual agreements we see in the 7th house. So that is business partnerships, but it's also any committed type of personal relationships as well. Clients are also these contractual type of partnerships too. Someone pays you some money, they've therefore entered into a contract with you to provide a service as well. So these are the kind of realms governed by the 7th house, and of course they make a big difference and a big impact on how our lives unfold. So this summer, thanks for joining me, we're going to be exploring every Sunday for 10 minutes what it means to have one of these planets in the 7th house. So check out your chart. You can do so at astro.com, where you can bring up a chart, and in whole sign astrology you'll be looking for the house that sits exactly opposite your AC ascendant, and it will always have the DC point in it. The written letters DC will fall in your 7th house in whole sign astrology. So look for that DC, that's the descendant degree, and whatever sign that falls in is your 7th house in whole sign astrology. So let's get started with today's video on Mercury. Mercury in the 7th house. What does this mean? Well, Mercury is in archetypal astrology the entertainer or the court jester. Think about the person who would often go into the court of King Henry VIII to bear him bad news, but do it in such a jovial, witty way that the king wouldn't even know that he'd received some bad news. He was laughing so much. The nature of Mercury is to be that entertainer, that jovial, youthful, playful, fun energy. And so what does it mean when this guy is sitting in your 7th house? Well, your partner's going to be very youthful in their outlook. They might even look a lot younger than their years would suggest. So they can have a youthful appearance. They might even actually be a lot younger than you. If you are looking at your committed life partner, marriage relationship, or a business partner can be a lot younger than you. And there'll be this playful energy to who they are. They will have this witticism, this perhaps sense of humor, this jovial nature that they will bring to their interactions, maritally or in business partnerships. Or your clients can tend to be a lot younger than you as well, or have a more youthful orientation. So you might be, let's say you're like me and you're doing videos online for people, your audience might be mostly people in their 20s, even though I'm a lot older than that. I'm not going to tell you my age. So this can be the nature of Mercury, to bring in more youthful energy into your life through connections, partnerships, and collaborations. Mercury is also a very social planet. It's a very intellectual planet as well. So you are likely to draw in clients and an audience or relationships with people who have a very keen mind, a quick mind. Mercury is a quick energy. So people who think fast, and hence the wittiness. They can think of an answer and a quick retort. So Mercury will bring these types of people into your world. Very intellectual people, very mind-oriented people. Mercury rules an air sign of Gemini, so very much air signs are about logic and thinking and the mind and the processes of the mind. Mercury is also very, as I said, very social. So it likes networking, likes communicating. It's very friendly. It likes to hang out with other people. So too will your partners. They will be good networkers. They will be good talkers. They will be good communicators quite generally, unless Mercury has bad aspects and is in poor dignity or something. Generally speaking, Mercury will bring about partners who can talk, who can communicate very well. In fact, communication is going to form a big component of your business and marital relationships and relationship with your audience. You will want to connect verbally or in a written sense with partners as well. Writing the old-fashioned love letters will probably very much appeal when you have Mercury in the 7th house. Mercury is, as I said, fun and youthful, but it also likes to experiment. So in this house that's all about connecting with others, it will look for ways to experiment with relationships. You won't be too serious about relationships when you have Mercury in the 7th house. You will look to play and have fun in relationships, and you will look to experiment with different kinds of relationships, especially not so much when you're dating, because the 7th house doesn't correlate to our dating life, but within the conditions of marriage or the conditions of a committed relationship or a business partnership, you will look to experiment with different styles and ways to express relationship, express love, connect with your partner in different unusual ways as well. Not as quirky as Uranus, but it does like that experimentation energy. Think about flirting, flirtatious words, flirtatious looks, that wink over the dinner table, or, that bit of innuendo that pops out over something you saw on television. Those kinds of energies are what we're talking about here. It's not, Mercury in the 7th house is not an indicator of cheating. It's not an indicator of having many partners, multiple partners, polyamory, unless there's other indicators in your chart for that. But it is an indicator that flirtation and playful banter will form a lot of what you undertake in a relational sense. Perhaps not so much with business partners with the innuendo there. Maybe, who knows? Depends what business you're in, perhaps. And speaking of the businesses that you're in, mercurial careers will be what your partner will likely be involved in. And this can be anything that involves writing and speaking and communicating in general. So they might be on the radio. They might be dealing with social media, website development. They might be involved in journalism. They might also be involved in advertising and marketing, or trade as well with Mercury. They might be a consultant or a speaker, or they might even run their own business. Mercury is the independent business person as well. Now, as I said, your relationships of all sorts are going to be based on a lot of communication. So this means lots of texting one another, lots of emailing, that sort of thing, including your clients, including your audience and your business contacts as well. Lots of chatting and meeting for coffee and chat and that sort of thing. Relationships can end up becoming very sibling-like and friendly. Now, I don't have Mercury in the 7th house, but Mercury rules Virgo, which is the sign of my 7th house. And my first life partnership did end up becoming like that. We became very sibling-like, very much like brother and sister, rather than lovers, rather than equally married couple. We were like brother and sister energy. And this is definitely what can unfold, unless you're consciously aware of not letting it go down that road. That's something that can also unfold with Mercury in the 7th house, where you'll end up being more like a brother and sister with your partner. Now, some people like that. They're comfortable with that. Hey, that feels like, a pair of old moccasins instead of, high-heeled stilettos. Life feels comfortable in my moccasins with my partner who feels like my brother or my sister. Some people like that. But if you are not someone who wants that in your relationship, you'll have to act consciously to keep the fuel alive, to keep the fire burning, to keep the playfulness, the banter, the flirtation happening in a way that feels more like lovers with spark and fireworks, rather than having that comfortable brother and sister dynamic. Mercury is what we think about. So here in the 7th house, you're going to think a lot about relationships. You'll also think a lot about business. You'll think a lot about business dynamics and business collaborations and networking. You'll think a lot about your audience and how to reach your audience, how to market to your audience and that sort of thing. But relationships are going to be a key thing at the forefront of your mind when Mercury sits in the 7th house, or in this case, like for me, the ruler of the 7th house. You'll also talk a lot about relationships, because Mercury is to think, Mercury is to speak as well. So you'll be talking a lot about relationships, and indeed that's exactly what I do. On my channel, I talk a lot about relationships through the lens of astrology. I talk about other things too, but it is a big focal point for what I talk about. And I've done a webinar all about the astrology of many marriages, because relationships are very much in my thoughts, with my 7th house ruler being Mercury. You'll have this too if your Mercury sits in the 7th house. It's a really good indicator, actually, this Mercury in the 7th house, for someone who would make a fabulous marriage counselor, because they like to listen, they like to talk, they like to think about relationships, and this will form the basis of a really good potential career if you're inclined to go down that road. It's an indicator for somebody who loves to play games with people. Now, not mind games, not sort of manipulation and coercion and that sort of thing, but much more playful games in the bedroom, games, to make life fun and delightful and joyful. Because remember, the archetype of Mercury is this court jester energy, this entertaining energy, this playful energy. So you will want to include that in your relationships. And in fact, if you don't, things will become stale very, very quickly. So keep it fun, keep it light, keep it playful, and your relationship will be buoyant for a longer period. Mercury is a business planet as well, so it can indicate that you and your partner might be in business together. You might work, it doesn't necessarily mean you're going to work together, but you might be in, collaborating on some endeavor together. My ex-husband and I used to sing in his band, and he was a performer, so we did work together in a sense. It wasn't our main career, but it was something that we did work on together, and we got a lot of joy out of doing that. So to conclude, you're generally going to be looking for partners who have this mercurial energy, this energy of youthfulness, playfulness, witticism. They're funny, they make you laugh. These are going to bring you a lot of joy. These types of people, rather, are going to bring you a lot of joy in life and be where you direct your energy in terms of connection and partnership and collaboration throughout life. So thanks for joining me for this video on Mercury in the 7th house, and I'll catch you next week when we take a peek at what it means to have Venus in your 7th house. See you then.